If I scroll and I see that the video is 3 minutes long, I'm not even watching the first 10 seconds of it because I'm not sitting and watching a 3 minute long video when I'm in short
We're all
form
so
mode.
busy. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Our attention spans are so short.
Exactly.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Modern Agent Podcast. My name is Logan Ricchetti with Modern Realty. This podcast is a combination of thoughts and opinions on the real estate market in Midland, Michigan with our local real estate agents from Modern Realty. Our mission is to create informed and confident buyer and seller clients, so tune in to learn more about Midland's real estate market.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Modern Realty Agent Podcast. My name is Kevin Crampton, Associate Broker here at Modern Realty, and we are today with Emily Wolfgang. So if you don't know who Emily is, she's one of our extremely talented agents, but she's also one of the people who contributes to the Modern Realty aesthetic, specifically with lots of different graphics and that type of thing. She's an expert in designing and graphic designing, and so that is a skill set that she has. So one of my favorite things that I love about doing this podcast, and I've done this podcast a couple of times, is hearing about how people started, the origin story of a real estate agent, because it is so unique and different to every single agent. So let's start this week's podcast by kind of getting your origin story.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good one. I think I never thought I'd be part of real estate in any way. I mean, I saw it from a distance and I thought, well, I don't think that's for me, but I was young. And I have a graphic design degree, and that is the route that I was trying to go, is using, the graphic design degree, which I have actually been able to, just not in the capacity I thought. So I met Logan, the broker of Modern, obviously, in 2016, I believe it was. And he needed somebody to do his email marketing, his email newsletters. And so that is how I started, sort of in the background, doing the email newsletters. I was what year was that? Second year, maybe?
2016, yeah. We started in July of 2015.
Right.
So yeah, you would have been in that first 12 to
yeah.
18 months.
So I kind of knew all of the OGs, as I'll say, of Modern. They didn't really know me because, again, I'm sort of behind the scenes. I'm doing the emails. I loved it. It was design. It's everything I like about that type of work. And so then I did that for several years. And then I sort of got interested, because that is the content of what I was making, real estate. And so I got interested in real estate a little bit. I said to Logan, hey, could you meet for just a few minutes? And I just have some questions about real estate. I'm only curious. I'd love to learn more about what it entails and what it's like, And of course he agreed, so we did. And then I tell people, it became almost like an interview in a good way. He started asking me what it would do for me and, how it would be a fit. And ultimately he, at the end, was like, hey, if you get your license, you can have a home here at Modern. I'll hire you. So that's how I started real estate.
One thing led to another, and the rest is his history.
Amen.
Yeah, so that's crazy, because I didn't even know that you were the behind the scenes doing the newsletters. I remember when we implemented the newsletters back when we were on Bayless Street in this tiny little mid-century Modern office, and I just knew that they were happening.
Right. Which is the whole point and the whole goal.
Yeah, I had no idea. And I've worked with you for 8 or 9 years now, and I didn't even realize that. So that's great. And also, I didn't know that you had a degree in graphic design, which I should have known, because our offices were next door to each other for all these years. Yeah. And I come to you so often with questions that I have, doing my own kind of design stuff in my business.
Which I love.
Yeah, that's great. Everybody has a unique and different kind of backstory and how and it always starts with Logan.
It always starts with Logan. And maybe they can be an agent, or if they're an agent, maybe they can also do this. And he's very good at making those connections. So.
Yeah, so it always starts as Logan doing business with somebody.
And then, boom, now they're an agent.
Planting that seed into, hey, have you ever thought of real estate? Next thing you know. So no, that's all great. So let's talk a little bit about, obviously, with a design background, you believe that there's an importance in the visual side. And of course, as real estate professionals, we know that impression is critical. And so to talk a little bit about why you think that the visuals are critically important when you're selling your house.
Yes, absolutely. That is one thing I loved about being able to do real estate and also use the graphic design, the creative side, and especially with listings. So listings, of course, are, like you said, that first impression. And I do think the visuals in multiple facets are the most important first impression because you're trying to gain interest in the home and get people through the door. And that's the whole goal of the imagery, I guess, in the beginning. So from first meeting to sign in the yard, there are so many opportunities to be creative and have that professional and really good imagery and design. So number one, you're cleaning out the house, obviously, sometimes, or you're prepping it, you're decluttering, you're making it look its very best for market. And then you're bringing in a professional photographer. At least that's definitely the standard that we have, is always professional photography. It makes all the difference. So there's that. And then we utilize those along with graphics to create things for social media and all of the other online platforms that we use. So we do a ton of online marketing because that's where people see. That's where people shop for homes. So I do think it's the most important first impression is, I saw that on Facebook or I saw that on your site. I want to go and see it. And so it's super key.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, because I always kind of describe myself as a social media expert, and you almost
Absolutely.
can't be a social media expert in this age
Right.
without having some competency in creating things that are visually stimulating and
Right.
things that are going to stand out, because the world of social media is so saturated with things that are fighting for your attention.
Yes.
So in my opinion, people like you that have this profound skill are able to stand out because you're just better at that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when you're better at that, the visuals, the graphic side of things, you are able to stop the scroll. Stopping the
Yes.
scroll is the objective of every person who's trying to get social media attention.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things that I think of when I think of, why would your specific skill set, kind of why I admire your skill set, is that you are able to take, and another thing, if anybody's ever seen any of Emily's stuff, which you almost certainly have, whether you know it or you don't know it.
Yes.
What I love about a lot of what you do is it's so simple.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And
Agreed.
it just makes it clean. And I have a tendency with my ADHD brain to want to have so much information.
Yes.
Because I want you to know everything that I know about this particular thing.
All on the graphic.
Exactly, because I believe that you need to know it.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the time, what catches my eye the most is things that are very simple. Judy Hughes is another, just fabulous at this particular thing, and Aubrey Beach, who works closely with her. Those guys are also so good, and their fonts.
Yep.
And all of
fonts
those
are
things.
so fun.
Yeah, and they're very good, and so are you at being very uniform across the board. It's to the point. Kyle Boxey is another one. Anything Kyle Boxey does, I can instantly tell that was created by
He's
Boxey.
created his brand.
Yeah, exactly.
with his
It's
look.
the same
Yes.
thing with you, in my opinion, and the same thing with Judy and Aubrey. So those are the type of things that I look at from like behind the scenes, and I think that's why they're stopping the scroll.
Agreed. Yeah, you do want that visual appeal because you're right. There's so much out there, and a lot of it does all look the same. And so I'm constantly changing things as well. Sometimes it's just boredom. I get bored with certain things, but I'll start with templates. I'll create sort of a campaign, if you will, of graphics that kind of go together, and it's a consistency. You do want to have a look that says, oh, okay, that's definitely Kevin. That's definitely Kyle. That's definitely Emily. Or that's definitely modern.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we did is we really kind of hammered in the idea of, okay, we want it to be obvious that you're a modern agent.
Yeah.
And then side note, start to kind of create your own look and your own brand as well. Obviously, we're each individual self-employed agents. But you want that modern look.
Yeah.
And it was very simple, streamlined, to the point, because clear is important. Clear messaging is important. And so often it was sort of like me having little tips and tricks, sessions of, okay, that's lovely, but it's like so much in one graphic. We can't just put every single bit of information they need to know in this one graphic. It's too loud. It's too busy.
And I was the recipient of that probably more than once.
You're like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah, no, Kev, I really like that, except for I don't like anything about it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, and you say that, and it's so true. Having been here since the very beginning,
right.
Since July 2015, Logan's entire vision from the start was to have this uniform brand,
yes,
and a very clean, tidy, professional,
right.
Brand, and he is stuck with that, and obviously with you by his side, doing a lot of the on the ground stuff,
right.
Even things like color codes. And
yes.
I mean, how often have I texted you needing color codes, fonts,
color? All
of those kind of things? Thinking back, all of that has been critical to Logan.
Yeah.
All of these times, he wants it to be our color orange. He wants it to be our 2 shades of gray. And rightfully so, because it has been able to create where I mean, it's very clear when you see modern agent content generally, I believe.
Yeah. You can definitely tell right away, I think.
Yeah.
And that's been important to just have that cohesive and consistent look throughout, as much as we're able to. And then again, having people stand apart in their own little ways. But that was a fun part of me coming into Modern is learning what really he liked and what Modern was about, and it was definitely an important position that I had, I guess, to come in and just learn that. That was really my job. Don't overhaul everything. I didn't need to create a brand. I needed to really learn it and hone it, and then help it to grow. So that's what I got to do, and it was really fun.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job with it. And over all the years, I think I'm
still here.
I believe that I've attended every session because I've learned. And I have a very different kind of thing that I do in social media. I try to make a lot of infographics and stuff like that, but I'm a self-described meme lord. I love making just funny things that about real estate. But even still, even for me to make those type of memes and the different things that I do, I use Canva all the time, which I learned how to use from you. I learned that it even existed. From some kind of breakout session or something that you had done. And then over the years, as it's changed so much, there's not a single day that goes by that I do not use Canva for something.
Yep.
And Canva is an extremely powerful software that most people know about now, but there's a lot of things that Canva can do that most people don't realize. It can do bulk create. It can do mock-ups. It can create graphs and actual like statistical graphics, but through importing spreadsheets, things like that. A lot of what I do, that's what I do. So that's fantastic. So let's move on to the next thing. We kind of covered, how you were able to come in and help to shape our brand over all of the years. And if you've ever seen a postcard or anything like that from any modern agent in your mailbox, almost certainly,
most likely,
Emily created that, and so just about anything that you can think of as it relates to our aesthetic, she had at least some part of that. So let's move on and talk about what are some kind of easy design tips, tricks, things like that you might give for people who are interested in learning a little bit more about either that side of real estate or even in other businesses, self-employed businesses, small businesses, that kind of thing. What kind of tips and tricks that might you be able to offer?
For me, design specific. You hit it already with the Canva. When I first came in, I had learned everything in Adobe. Everything was Adobe.
Yeah.
And it's I would say much more complex for the general user to learn and utilize. So we talked about that a lot. I was like, Adobe is meant for design. These are the reasons. And then here's this Canva. And it was still a little bit new, at least new around here and new to us.
It was definitely a little clunky, like I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I mean, it was like
capable.
all there, but the strides that it's taken over the past few years are unbelievable.
And I think it's just because people have grabbed onto it so easily. And it really is great for designers and non-designers. You really can have any skill level with Canva. You can go in and get a complete creation done, just like you would AI, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But you can pick up templates and you can tweak them just a little bit to make them your own. And you have to do almost nothing. You can have very little design skill, or you can have a lot of design skill. And ultimately, that's what happened with me. We completely decided to go with Canva so that every agent had the capability of utilizing the designs, editing them, or creating their own.
Yeah.
And I knew that we couldn't do that with Adobe in the same capacity. So we went with Canva, and it was such a great decision. And then we would have training sessions, as you know. And it was very simple for people to
Yeah, it's super user friendly
use.
that almost anybody that has any kind of any degree of competency as it relates to that type of thing. And I never even thought of the fact, what you just said, that it makes it fully editable.
Yeah. Because I would create some, remember? And then it was here's the link. Yep. You can make your own copy, edit, and make it your own.
Yeah.
That was very nice for everyone, I think. It really worked.
Yep.
And we still use it. I still use it daily. I hardly ever use Adobe anymore. But I love Canva. And it has so many capabilities. As you said, it has... the paid version of Canva, the pro version.
You almost have to have the paid version at this point.
They're so worth it, though. Yeah. Every penny. So I love.
Yeah, I think it's like $13.99. They tried to double the price. I was just talking to Kirsty about this, and apparently they got such feedback because now of course Canva is fabulous,
so
but.
Big.
But there's other options available. And if you're going to double the price on this big client base, they're going to start shopping you. Yeah. And Kirsty told me that they decided that they're not going to change the price, at least by that much.
That makes sense.
Which I'm glad, because I'm not learning a different software at this point. So if they beef the price up, then I'm paying double. But it sounded like a lot of people were leaving that. So what other kind of tips or tricks would you think? We talked about simple.
Yes.
I mean, that's a great tip that you gave me, is to, anything that doesn't need to be there, let's go ahead and get her out of there.
Yes, the true essence of design is not so much how much you can have in something, but how little can you have and still convey your message. Yeah. So that is kind of
that's a great point.
Yeah, it works in this too. So I understand when people use a graphic and they throw in, their face and their phone number and email and modern, we have to have that. Yeah. And all of the other information about the listing or whatever, what have you. But certain platforms don't really like that, the loud, busy, all of the text, number one. So your exposure might be a little lower, but also just visually. People, you can share that information in different ways in your caption and your comments, things like that. And I just always lean toward the simple, and so did, Modern in general, Logan. Yeah. And so we would go that route. But to each their own. But I do love the simple, and I love that look. It's definitely more.
I kind of moved away from all of the information, my email address, my website, all these different things, which I used to do, and I just go with just like a 70% opacity watermark with my little logo that you see on almost everything. It's kind of recognizable, and I'll go ahead and add my contact information in the description of the post. Right. That way, if I'm able to get you to stop the scroll, I'm still able to effectively get my contact information kind of in front of you, but it's not so busy that you're just like, I'm not messing with that. Right. I mean, we do that
for the eye.
Where even with like short form video content or something, if I scroll and I see that the video is 3 minutes long, I'm not even watching the first 10 seconds of it, because I'm not sitting and watching a 3 minute long video when I'm in
We're all
form
so
mode.
busy. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Our
You get-
attention spans are so short.
Exactly.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's a really good point. What about I think color integration is and font integration is another like key tip that I had to learn myself.
Okay.
I was always trying to like mess with different fonts and
Sure.
and even colors and stuff like that. And I'm like, why am I not just sticking to? And I think we talked about it one time, or maybe I heard it at one of your like breakouts. Where it's like, stick to the same fonts, one or two fonts. Don't go overboard with a bunch of different fonts.
Yes.
And the same thing with colors. We at Modern Realty we have 3 colors besides white and black.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
And they're exact colors with color codes that we kind of all know now. And if you have Canva, you can get into Canva and actually import your brand.
Amen.
And so it makes it super easy. Every time I'm selecting a color for anything, it always gives me those 3
it's the
options
right one.
first. And then, of course, everybody knows white and black is really simple, and they go with almost anything. So those are like other ones that I kind of thought of or that I've learned over the years is to kind of stay true to those colors, stay true to those fonts.
Yeah. And you can bring in other colors. We do that often. We'll bring in other colors that either make sense for a season or make sense for if somebody's branded themselves as they're going to go with beige instead of white with the colors. And the fonts, that's just another design sort of rule of thumb is you don't want to have too many fonts going on. And you kind of have to factor in the logo too. So we would always try to either match the logo with fonts. And then when we got away from that and we're trying to, change things up and be unique, it still had to be like a couple of fonts max. If you have 3 fonts, you're over the top.
Kind of pushing the limit.
A little bit. And some people may be debatable, but that's kind of the rule of thumb that we would follow, which it just cleans up the look completely. And same with the colors. So.
Yeah. And I've noticed too, actually, from lots of people in our office, you included, kind of selecting a font that kind of goes with the vibe of the graphic that you're making. So, if you want the mood of the graphic to be very elegant, very, very kind of slim, you would choose a font that kind of goes with that. But if I'm trying to create a graphic that has a very bold statement or it's a graphic that maybe with a link to a blog article or something that I write, that I want it to really stand out, again, that's where that font, and before I ever learned anything about it, I never even in my
Never thought of that.
They
have like personalities essentially.
Yep.
And so you're matching colors and vibe with the font and it can speak essentially volumes.
Yeah. So, okay, on to the next kind of topic of discussion. What type of advice would you give to somebody who wanted to get better at this type of thing in their real estate business? Because again, you're not just a graphic gal. You are a talented real estate professional too, but what kind of advice or suggestions might you give to somebody who's like that is a edge of my sword that I want to sharpen?
Sure. Just in general, design, marketing, that makes sense. So there are multiple things. Number one, back to presenting a listing, I would say, is one example. You're going to be presenting yourself as an agent a lot, and this applies to that too. So say you're creating things for your social media platforms, for yourself, for listings, for trying to get listings, for buyers, just informational. Number one, if it's a listing, it's important to have the professional photography. It just is. It is everything. It does not phone photos just don't compare.
Yeah.
And I can give some tips on how to take and edit phone photos to make them look way better than typically they would.
Yeah.
But
which a lot of those tools are available.
Absolutely.
In of course we talk about Canva all the time. That's what we happen to use. Yes. But almost everything has ways to increase or decrease exposure and like
right on your phone.
Yeah.
I recommend Lightroom to everybody.
Yep.
It's an app that I use free on my phone. I'm getting this back to Adobe, but I like Lightroom on the phone for those types of things.
Lightroom is very friendly with Apple.
Yes.
RAW, which is how I tend to take videos and pictures, and Lightroom is optimized for Apple images from iPhone cameras. Okay. That's another thing.
Right, and so you can completely transform a photo. So even if it's you with your clients at closing, which we love those photos, just stepping up your game with giving it a quick edit, light and bright and crisp and straight.
Yeah.
That's a key thing that always drives me nuts.
Yeah.
If it's, it's just important to me just that the positioning, the geometry is correct, or things are straight and clear and really nice and light and bright. It just makes everything better. And then you're posting that to Facebook, and that just improves your image, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the same thing with, again, presenting yourself for marketing. It's the photos. It's making sure that they're top notch and not just, hey, I took a photo with my phone and posted it, because we can really elevate that very easily. That's very simple to teach, and it's very simple to do. Also, creating graphics, like we talked about, that are sort of a brand for you. And that's just one piece to social. We know we're doing this right now. People can see our faces and hear our voices, and I think that's huge. But when it comes to graphics, you do want to kind of create a look, a campaign, or a cohesive look that brands you. So again, going into Canva, if it be Canva that people decide to use, which I recommend, it's so easy. Start with a template. Tweak it a little, tweak it a lot, make it completely your own. Sometimes I'll go in, if I'm not feeling extremely creative or inspired or whatever.
It's hard to start
some
from
days.
nothing.
To start from scratch is hard unless you're used to it. But if you go in and grab a template that you like the look of, sometimes I'll do that, and then I'll end up with one or two elements left, and everything else is gone, and I've completely remade it. That's actually my goal, but I just needed the inspiration or just the one little piece of something that I liked. Or even the font. You know? Even the way that the way that the image is transparent or not, or the light, and that's how I start almost all the time. Then once I know and I have some templates that I love, now I'm just kind of duplicating them and tweaking them, So for me, it's for maybe something for closings or open houses or buyer's information or whatever, and they all kind of look the same, or I'll have a few different looks. And then every year, like I said, I'll get bored and I'll create something new, and maybe I'll go buy a font, so it's completely unique. Canva has a billion fonts, but I will just totally change it up and still have it be kind of my look. Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing for people.
Bulk create, and I don't know if you use bulk create, but bulk create is another really good way to do that. Okay. So if you were to formulate an idea, for example, I like to do quick tips. I do a lot of like quick tip graphics and videos.
Yes, I love those.
So I can go through, formulate 20 quick tips. And then I can by using bulk create, I can create 20 graphics in literally seconds.
I love that. I haven't used that, to be honest.
It's really cool.
So I'll try it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you can do it with videos too. You can bulk create videos in horizontal or in landscape. Landscape
and vertical, horizontal.
Yeah, vertical and horizontal. And so you can do videos, and you can also do graphics, and you can do it in any aspect ratio. Nice. So it's really actually quite cool. But I mean, it will instantly create you 20 different things that are the same, if that makes sense. So just like what you're saying,
awesome.
and then what I do is I just stockpile them, and I'll put them on an external drive or in a folder on my computer, and then every day, I can share them, and then once I share them, I take them and put them in a shared folder, and that way I know not to reshare them. But bulk create is another like really good way to do.
Kind of builds an arsenal of
and it always gives you something to have. It's something valuable, because social media, again, we're competing for attention. It better be valuable. I mean, you can't do the same stuff. Deep clean, declutter. Well, everybody knows that. How about let's talk about deeper. Average rates over 30 years, and whether or not what time of year is best to sell or whatever. So those are some kind of tips that I might particularly use. But that's all very interesting. And a good tip for Lightroom. That is another thing. And a lot of people who are into cameras and images and videography and photography know about Lightroom, but a lot of people don't.
True.
I mean, if we were going to go around to the 51 agents in our office and ask them what Lightroom is, I'd be surprised if 10 of them were to know. But again, the paid version is kind of you have to go with the paid version. At least for me, I tried the free version, and I was just not able to do anything that my phone couldn't do. You can adjust exposure, you can adjust shadows, you can adjust highlights, you can adjust some different things.
Right.
But if you really want to get into what Lightroom can do,
the paid version,
it's like $50 a year. But if you're really into that type of thing, and that image is really important, and it is, because even if you're going to use another software like Canva, that original image that you're starting with, if you're starting with an image that you took, is really important. I mean, nothing can look good, no matter what, if that main image isn't attractive.
Yes, I almost always edit every image that is taken. I'll at least put it into Lightroom and start to tweak and see if I like it. And almost always, at least a brightening, contrast, just basic things can improve the image. And
or
then you're right.
Or something, some kind of overlay.
So many things.
Yeah.
And then you can pop it into Canva and utilize it along with their stock photos, which are endless.
Yeah. And their stock graphics and for $13 a month, Canva is an unbelievable.
Oh,
this is a Canva commercial, by the way. I don't know if
I did start to feel that way, like we're actually promoting Canva a lot more than I intended, but it's so useful, and it's been such a good thing. But more on that, graphics are only one thing, and I have been guilty of sort of hiding behind my graphics. I like graphics. It's easy, it's comfortable. But more and more, people want to see your face. People like videos, short videos. People like podcasts like this. And so it might be a little more uncomfortable for us or some agents or some people, business owners, whomever, to get past that hump and do the things that are face, face-to-face kind of. But it's worth it, because then people can start to learn about you, understand you, hear your tone. It's not just, you behind a graphic or your photo.
Yeah.
And people gravitate to that online. That's what people like. We're living in stories and reels and TikTok and all of the things.
I don't even want to mention my TikTok screen time on any given day. But yeah, that's the type of thing that rules the world right now. So, it's one of those things where, I guess, to this vein of advice for people who are looking to get better at this type of thing, it's like you kind of got to get on board with where people's attention is, if that's something that you aim to get better at. So let's move on to the future of design and kind of what your predictions for maybe possibly upcoming trends, and what your thoughts are on artificial intelligence as it relates to how you predict the design world will be in the future.
Yeah, sure. So AI, we talked about this a little, and AI I'm a little bit on the end of a little hesitant to use AI. I kind of like to test things, have the world test things out, if you will. And I'm kind of watching and seeing. And so far, AI is helpful in many ways, a little bit comical at times, and often, not great. So when it comes to photos and design, I find that I'm immediately realizing this is AI. It's so fake. And then other people are completely, they don't see that. They're like, wow, beautiful. Oh, beautiful person, beautiful room. And I'm thinking, okay, it is, but it's AI, which is fine.
Yeah, but what about the ninth finger that they have on the back of their neck?
The fingers are always giving it away. Things like that. I'm just very discerning, I think. And, not everybody is, and that's okay, as long as we don't let that be. I like genuine. So I think AI can be a helpful tool. I really do. And so far for me personally, and I'd love for you to get deeper into like the capabilities of AI, because you taught me some things, but I want it to be super genuine. I actually like writing. So for example, my, listing descriptions or anything that I post on Facebook, I like to take the time to create that copy or that content, whatever it is. It would probably be faster and easier for me to say, into whatever Chat GPT or whatever, put together this for me. And then, like I said, I would then get rid of 25 of the adjectives that they have in there and hone it down and make it sound like me.
And all the normal AI, discover this, or, it's like it always uses the same exact things with that, just give it away that it's AI.
A little bit. And unless you use it as, again, kind of like a design template, you start with that and then you rework it. You reformat it, make it sound like you, make it genuine, make it make sense for whatever it is that you're trying to convey. And then I think, yeah, it's probably a fantastic tool. I haven't personally used it in listings or anything like that. I've used, again, professional photography, my own writing, my own graphics, but I'm open to trying some things when it comes to that tool.
Yeah.
But
And that's what it is. And that's what people need to understand. It is AI is a mechanism. It is a lever. And that's the way that I see it. And just like any other tool, you have to learn how to use it. And that is what separates the finger off the back of the neck and saying, what in the world is this?
AI.
From something that you're like, wow, I can't believe that's AI.
Yes.
And for me, the biggest thing is to learn it like any other skill. So that's the first thing, is learning how to prompt. It is the most important thing if you're interested in AI. If you are not a skilled prompter, you will not get good results out of the large language model. You just won't. You are going to get that classic, what you said, where you're like, what the heck? I can totally tell that's artificial intelligence. Yeah. Where I hate to say it, 99% of the copyright and even blogs and news articles and things like that are not written by humans in 2024. They maybe not 99%. That might be a slight exaggeration, but a lot of it. And the reason that a lot of it you can't tell is because the person who created that, which it did have to be, artificial intelligence can't just create anything. It has to be told what to do. And the person who created the good articles are people who learn the skill of how to teach the large language model what to do.
That makes sense.
And I think that is my prediction for the future, is that a lot of people are going to start to learn that skill.
Yes.
And I think it's a good thing. I love AI. I am a self-proclaimed advanced AI user. I use artificial intelligence every single day. I don't use it a lot for image generation because it's extremely hard to prompt it. In a way that you're going to get a really great result. And a lot of the time, you just have to prompt it more than once. You have to,
Keep
kind
trying.
of work on that prompt.
Yeah.
Also, the actual model that you're using is really important. So if you're just using ChatGTP, or the newest base model of ChatGTP is called ChatGTP 4.0. You are going to get very ChatGTP like results. But if you use 0.1, which is kind of a beta model that's out right now, but available to use, that has advanced reasoning and stuff like that. So now it doesn't just take the prompt, spit out a result. Now it takes the prompt and it actually shows you how it's working through all and the entire sequence and process of why it came up with that. And it's using reasoning, which is really, really cool. And also helps you learn about, okay, this is the smartest thing that the world has ever known. And this is how it formulated a response to this particular question. It helps you in your own thought processes and stuff. And then you can go into that and
tweak
the
those
results.
more specifically.
Exactly right. And also another thing that I'd advise anybody who wants to learn more or become better at prompting is there are prompt generators. You can go into Reddit forums and stuff and get good prompts that will prompt ChatGTP to create the most effective prompt possible.
Nice.
And then you can use what it created, copy and paste it into a new chat and get just an unbelievable result. Also, I don't use it a lot for image generation or anything, but I do use it sometimes. I will use it for B-roll and stuff like that on videos that I'm making that I just can't kind of find what I want. I'll tell ChatGTP what I want. And
that makes total sense.
Yeah, and then I get it, and then I just kind of move it through keyframes and stuff when I'm actually editing, and it makes it almost look like it's a video, but it's actually just kind of a moving picture that I created with AI. So there's a lot that you can do with it. Another thing that I love to use AI for is to use it as an editor. I just literally tell it, you are a editor. And this is an article that I just wrote, and I need you to go through, correct any grammatical errors, beef up anything that needs to be beefed up, and that kind of thing. And then I'll get it spit back out to me, all corrected as if I sent it to an editor and had it edited. So that's another thing, because I have a tendency to always fire out content.
Yeah.
And I'll just fire it out, and then I'll be like, oh, I misspelled 3 words.
needs polishing.
Logan loves that about me, by the way. He's always like, dude, what's this? But yeah, so I think AI is the future. I think it's the most revolutionary technology since the industrial age. And I'm not being dramatic when I say that. That I truly believe that. I can see that too. And I think it can be used by the right people who learn how to use it to seriously benefit real estate consumers, buyers and sellers. Don't shy away from it. But I do understand, and I kind of like the thought of, I'm letting everybody else get it out of their system before I mess with it.
Just watching it and seeing what you're saying, so it's improving greatly.
Yeah.
And you make a really good point about having to learn it.
Yeah.
You can't just utilize it and have it be this sort of magic tool.
Exactly.
You're learning how to use it as a tool to create what it is that you need. So that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I'm completely open to doing that more. It's just not been something I have kind of delved into yet.
Yeah, that's piqued your interest. Yeah, I like being on the bleeding edge of it. I just think
that's great.
So
I'll
cool.
just come to you anytime I'm needing some advice on AI.
Yep, and if I don't know it, then I'll learn it, and then I'll learn a little bit more about it. Kind of just like I always went to you to learn how to not make my stuff look
and it
crazy.
did help me. I loved. I still am a little bit of a resource, I will say. I love being part of Modern in that capacity too, where they'll still come to me, the team, and I still feel like I'm sometimes a little bit part of the team. And I'm so open to helping with things and just being a sounding board and giving a little insight. And I find that sometimes I'll go into the listing gal's office and we'll come up with something as a team that's just awesome. And I love being able to continue to do that, even though I'm less in that capacity now. I'm full-time
more in real estate
agent and doing design as I am able and want to, and
you're 100% the person that I go to if I'm like, what,
Which I'm
why
open
does
to
this
that
not look good or whatever, or I need something to trigger an idea. You're definitely the first person that I talk to. So the last thing that I want you to be able to convey to anybody who might be watching this is, obviously, we've discussed a lot of different things and your skill sets and the fact that you are a real estate professional that happens to have this additional skill set. So describe to anybody that's listening, what are the tangible benefits that they would get by hiring a person like you with your specific skill set?
Oh, yeah. Tangible benefits. Immediately, I'm thinking time. So most often we are very, very busy. And this relates a little to our model at Modern as well, having a team behind us that helps us to be able to be client-facing so much more because they handle all of the back-end things, or at least most. You know, it's a team effort always.
It's certainly on the listing side.
Certainly on the listing side, yes. And there are some things with the buying too. I would say it's similar with that. So if you don't have that skill or don't want to, I can think of a couple people immediately that come to me and they say, I just hate's a strong word, but
I can think of at least a couple, that I would believe that.
Oh, I just can't stand doing this. Can you help me with this? And it's funny because I love that. And then I'll go to them with the things I hate. But it can be completely worth it just for that. I've seen agents at our brokerage or others that have hired marketers, designers, even just social media managers, and it has freed them up so much to not worry about that piece, because it can be a lot. If you're trying to sustain a daily, weekly, whatever frequency you want, social media presence, you're going to sometimes need to have either your own capacity to take care of that or somebody else. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a huge benefit, is just freeing up your time and perhaps freeing up, being a little less stress for people who don't like it. It's very worth it. There are people out there that want to do that for you. There are people out there that are very, very good at it, and they might as well take advantage of that. Knowing how to do some of that myself is great because, again, I just don't have to worry about hiring that out. But there are times that, I chuckle. I'm like, I should have more out there. I let that slack sometimes due to other things that seem a little more pressing. Yeah. Also, just like we hit on before, having it be an elevated look. So with design and with the branding, you're just going to have that punch that others don't if they're not doing that.
Yeah.
You're going to have an improved look always. And I think that's the most important, because you're going to have your marketing more seen. Your sellers and your buyers are going to have that benefit because you are more...
Yeah, it's just going to have a higher appeal.
Absolutely. So that is the whole goal for real estate, is getting either our listings seen or our buyers taken care of in all kinds of ways, and making sure that our voice is heard. And sometimes that's through the imagery, and design is the back of that. So it's super important to whatever degree people decide to implement it. You know, we were talking about platforms. If people don't want anything to do with TikTok, that's okay. It is very popular. If you want to jump on and use it, that's all, all the power to you. That's great. I do recommend, and we've talked about this before in huddles, don't feel like you have to go and be a master of all the platforms all at once. But get on one or two or whatever you feel like you can handle, and then just become sort of an expert in that, or at least be consistent in it. So if you're going to just do Facebook, that's okay. There's actually a lot of people on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you may know which platform your ideal client is on.
Yeah.
So if I have ideal clients on Instagram, I probably should be more on Instagram. I personally know that I loved Instagram and I started to venture into the others, but my ideal and my client, my sphere is on Facebook.
Yeah.
They mostly are. So really that is probably where I should be most prevalent. And that's going to be the case for a lot of people. It's cool to also bring in some of the others like TikTok or whatever people want to use. YouTube, having videos. That's a really great one that not a lot of agents are doing. So just getting really good at one or two will help.
Yeah, you don't have to be a master of all of them. Just gain a proficiency in one or two of them.
Yes.
And like you said, where's my target client going to be? But also where's my target audience for the type of content that I'm good at?
Yes, exactly.
Because every one of these different platforms are they're specific to something.
They are.
Like
your video.
Exactly.
It's going to be different than just
right
Facebook
or short form video versus but they're all kind of starting to try to copy what everybody else does well and try to have it all.
They overlap and things.
Yeah, especially with the short form content. Just about every platform has short form content now. When you think of Reels for the Meta platforms, and then you got TikTok, of course, and then you have Shorts on YouTube, but yeah, no, those are all really good points and really good benefits. And again, everything that you're talking about is stopping the scroll. You know what I'm saying? And the way that you stop the scroll is to be more visually appealing and to find ways to be interesting enough for them to stop for 1 second to consume your content. And if you are really good at that as an agent, like you are, that benefits your clients. That benefits your seller clients. Like one of my favorite things that you said is your job as a real estate agent is to get your listings seen.
Yes.
Because it's 2024. I mean, real estate agent's job isn't to put your thing in the MLS and
have
for
it
other agents
out
flipping through the old folder. That's not the way that real estate works anymore. Right. And we are in an information world, so getting your listing seen is critical. But if your listing looks clunky and generic or whatever, it is not going to stop the scroll. And the difference is with hiring somebody who's extremely good at that is they have a higher likelihood of stopping the scroll. So yeah, I really like that. This is all very interesting. A lot of things that I didn't know. Every time I've done this, I learned things about the other agent that I'm doing it with that I had no idea. So even though we've worked together for almost a decade.
Always learning new things.
Yeah. So
they just never came up.
Yeah. So that is the Modern Agent podcast for today. Thank you so much for coming out and doing it. And thank you guys so much if you stayed for this long to watch the end. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Modern Agent Podcast. Please follow at Modern Realty Midland on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you need to buy or sell a house, please reach out to Modern Realty by going to www.modernrealty.us. Modern Realty, your home, our focus.